Hi everyone. Today we're going to be starting a new unit for y'all about some geometry stuff. Hopefully some of the things we talked about today you've heard before. If not, that's okay. We're going to be looking at angles. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the parts of an angle. The parts of an angle are formed by two rays with a common endpoint. So if you remember, a ray has an endpoint and then extends indefinitely in one direction. So endpoint again indefinitely in one direction. This common endpoint is called the vertex. So if I'm looking over here, our common endpoint B. The rays are called sides. Okay, when we're talking about an angle and we're using symbolic notation, we just make a little bitty angle. Angles are typically named using three letters. The middle letter must always represent the vertex. So our vertex is in the middle of our angle, so when we name our angle, it needs to be in the middle of the name. Angles can also be angles can also be named using just the vertex if it is the only angle located at that vertex. Okay. When referring to the measure of an angle, we use a lowercase m. For example, we would say the measure of angle. If I'm looking at this angle over here, I could call it A, B, C is equal to 60 degrees. Since this is the only angle at this vertex, I could have also called it angle B. Notice those letters are capitalized, and it does make a difference. All right, we have four types of angles that we're going to talk about today. The first one we're going to talk about is what's called an acute angle. So I'm going to draw a picture here, and I'm going to say it's acute. And the main thing that you need to know about acute angles is that they are less than 90. Less than 90 degrees. Okay. Our next one is called a right angle, and I'm going to put a little square here. This little square in the corner represents that it's 90 degrees. So we're going to say this is a right angle, and a right angle is equal to 90 degrees. And you can write out the words equal to if you want. I just didn't. Our next type of angle is what we call an obtuse angle. Okay, an obtuse, what in the world? An obtuse angle is greater than 90. And the last type of angle we have is called a straight angle. Okay, and a straight angle is equal to 180 degrees. All right, so we're going to use this picture on the left here to answer questions A through D. So the first thing it says is to name the vertex. So this is the only angle. So I have two options. I'm going to give both. You can just give one if you want. It's up to you. So you could name it angle K because K is the center and there's no other angles there. Or we could call it angle JKL. Okay, and I'm just following J to K, K to L. The next thing it says is we're going to name the sides of our angle. So if I'm naming the sides of our angle, I'm going to start at the vertex and then go to one of the sides. So this would be ray KJ. So I'm going to draw a ray above it. And then I'm going to start at the vertex and go to the other side. So this would be ray, KL. And then it says give 3 ways. Oh, on number 1 I answered the wrong question. Haha, silly goose. It says name the vertex. I read it as name the triangle. If we're naming the vertex, it would just be K. Silly goose, jumped ahead. Give 3 ways to name angle. 3 ways to name the angle. So as we already said, we could name it angle K because it's the only thing at the vertex. The other one I said was angle JKL because I just followed. I started at one side, went to the center, and then to the other side. But I could also do it in the other direction. I could start at the other side, go to the center, and then down. So I could also call this angle LKJ. The last thing is classify. Classify has to do with the type. So we're wanting to know whether it's acute, right, or obtuse. So to classify this, I would call it an obtuse angle. All right, so let's look at the next one. This time I'll make sure I'm reading what it says. Name the vertex. So the vertex is our center. So the center of this angle is R. Name the sides. So if I go out, RS is one side, and it's ray RS. So I'm going to draw a ray above it. And then R to Q. So I'm starting at the center and going out, R to Q. Okay, give 3 ways to name this. Since this is the only angle at R, I can say this is angle R. I could start from Q to R and then up to S, so I could say Q, R, S, or I could go the other way, S, R, Q. But R has to be at the center because it is the vertex. And then lastly, it asks us to classify it. So is it acute, right, obtuse, or straight? This one has this little box here indicating that it is a right angle. Okay. So this says the measure of angle A is 12x minus 5. If x is 9, find the measure of angle A and then classify it. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug this into this x. So we're going to say 12 times, instead of x, we're going to put a 9 minus 5. Okay, 12 times 9 is 108 minus 5, which is 103. So we'll say the measure of angle A is 103. And then the classifying it part. So classifying is the acute, which is less than 90, right, which is equal to 90, obtuse, which is greater than 90, or straight, which is 180. This one is greater than 90, so we say it is obtuse. Okay. This is a good place to pause it and you try number 2. But I'll go ahead and do it here. So 7 times 23 plus 19. If I do 7 times 23, that's 161 plus 19, which is 180. So I would say the measure of angle R is 180 degrees. Since this is equal to 180, we say this is a straight angle. Okay. Number 3 says the measure of h is 14 minus minus 2x is x is equal to negative 6. Again, you could pause and try this one and then double check your answer. 14 minus 2 times negative 6. So this is going to be 14. If I multiply those, that's 2 times negative 6, which is negative 12, but I'm also subtracting, so that's going to be plus 12. Okay, and then 14 plus 12 is 26. So we'll say the measure of angle H equals 26, and since this is less than 90, we'll say that it is an acute angle. The measure of angle y is 4x plus 22. If x is equal to 17, find the measure of angle y. So 4 times 17 plus 22. 4 times 17 is going to be 68 plus 22, which is 90. So the measure of angle y is 90 degrees, which is a right angle. Alright, so now we're going to do some solving. We're going to find x and then use that to find our angles. Okay, so it says the measure of angle C is 19x minus 3. The measure of angle D is 8x plus 10. If the sum of the measures of the angles is 115, find the measure of each. Alright, so we're going to sum means that we are adding these two angles together. And when I add these two angles together, I should get 115. Now I have to add them together by like terms. So variables with variables, constants with constants. So 19 plus 8 is going to be 27x. And then negative 3 plus 10 is positive 7. And then I'm going to have to work backwards or use some inverse operations. I'm going to start by subtracting the 7. So I get 27x is equal to 108. And then I'm going to divide everything. I'm going to write it over here. 27x equals 108. I'm going to divide everything by 27. So I get x is equal to 4. It says find the measure of each angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to plug that 4 into each angle. So for angle C, I'm going to do 19 times 4 minus 3. Okay, 19 times 4 is 76 minus 3, which is 73. So that's one of my answers. And then angle D is going to be 8 times 4 plus 10. 8 times 4 is 32. 32 plus 10 is 42. So that's my other answer. The measure of angle J is x plus 7. The measure of angle K is 12x minus 27. Find the sum, if the sum is 123, find the measure of each angle. So this is the same thing from the previous problem. So if you want to pause it, try it, see if you get the same values. That would be a great idea. Okay, so I'm going to do x plus 7 plus 12x minus 27 equals 123. I'm combining my like terms, so x plus 12x is 13x. 7 plus negative 27 is negative 20 and equals 123. Doing my inverse operations, I'm going to add 20 to both sides. So that gives me 13x is equal to 143. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 13. And when I do that, I get that x is equal to 11. I'm going to plug this 11 into both of my expressions. So j is going to be 11 plus 7, which is 18. And k is going to be 12 times 11 minus 27. Okay, 12 times 11 is 132, and then minus 27 gives us 105. Okay, the measure of angle E is 18 degrees more than the measure of angle F. So E is 18 more, means I'm adding 18 to something, 18 more than the measure of angle F. It says that the sum of the two is 96. So I'm going to set this up. I'm going to add angle E, which is F plus 18, and angle F. When I add those two together, I should get 96. So I have 2F plus 18 is equal to 96. I'm going to start by subtracting 18 from both sides. So I get 2F is equal to 78. And then dividing by 2. F is equal to 39. This is one of my angles, so that's one of my answers. And then to find E, E is going to be 39 plus 18. And 39 plus 18 is 57. Last one. The measure of angle R is 3 degrees less than twice the measure of S. Okay, R is 3 degrees less. That means we're subtracting 3 from something, then twice the measure of S. So that would be 2S. If the sum, okay, so sum again, so we're going to say 2S minus 3, so this is R, plus S is equal to 72. Combining my like terms, it gives me 3S minus 3 is equal to 72. I'm going to start by adding 3. So that means that 3S is equal to 75. Divide both sides by 3, and I get that S is 25 degrees. And then I need to find R. R is going to be 2 times 25 minus 3, which is 50 minus 3, which is 47. All right, so hopefully you had a review of some things that you learned before. Hopefully you got some new things also. But I hope you'll have a great rest of your day and a great week. Bye.